we're going to work on knife skills with the cantaloupe. And being a melon, obviously, it is round, so we want to be careful when we cut it that we're safe and we have a stable cutting surface. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to lay our cantaloupe down and we're going to cut off each end. And the end is where the stem and the blossom form. So we're going to cut that second one and set it aside, and then we can flip the cantaloupe up onto the flat surface so that it's stable while we're cutting it in half. So just make that cut in half. And when you open it up, you can see if it's nice and ripe, it will have less of a green rind around the end. And we just have to take the seeds out, so keep a bowl handy so that you can scoop the seeds with a spoon, spatula, or a gloved hand into the bowl. Now we have nice and clean inside of our melon with no seeds. So we'll try this one with a gloved hand. You just want to be careful not to bruise the flesh inside of the cantaloupe when you do this by scraping too hard, but you do want to get all the seeds out. Just a few more. And just check in the ends there, because sometimes seeds get stuck in that little area. Now we're going to work on cutting our cantaloupe into bite-sized pieces that are also an appropriate size to fit in our portion cups. So let's just clean up our workstation and we can get started. So again, you want to flip your cantaloupe over onto the flat side. The skin is clean, so cutting into it shouldn't be a problem. You've washed it at this point. So just make that cut to cut the cantaloupe into quarters. And then you're going to turn your piece up onto the wider flat side. This is going to put this in a position that is easiest to trim away the peel without trimming away too much of the flesh. So just do this part carefully. Go slowly at first to make sure that, again, you don't trim away flesh, because that's going to decrease your yield and your food costs will go up. Sometimes when you do this, what you've got to do is make the initial trim and then go back and trim away any of the residual green part that lies right under the peel or the skin. We'll just make a few cleanup cuts here. And we'll get ready to go right into cutting pieces that are going to go into our portion cups for students. So we just want to go ahead and cut on a flat side again. So we want to turn our cantaloupe and then making cuts about an index finger's width. Just go ahead and cut that quarter of the cantaloupe, being as consistent as possible. And we're going to separate these pieces into stacks, just as we did the cucumber, and want to line up similar sized pieces. So it might be 2 pieces, maybe 3 pieces, but not anymore because it's going to get slippery. And then those end pieces that don't have that semicircle cut out of the middle, we want to cut those separately. And what we're going to do is cut into about pineapple tidbit, a little bit larger than pineapple tidbit slices. And it's okay if they're not triangular shaped. They're all going to fit into the cup nicely at about this size. And what we want to avoid is having pieces cut so large that when we put them into the cup, there's going to be a lot of air between the pieces. So let's finish cutting up these slices here in just a minute. And we'll show you how to cut these more flat pieces that don't have the semicircle cut out. So you just cut into batons and then cut the batons into rectangles. Sometimes you'll do thirds, sometimes it'll be half. And then that little tiny piece. Here we go. Excellent. So now we're going to take the other quarter of the cantaloupe and take the rind off. And again, you want to cut with the wider part on the bottom. So same as before, just trimming the peel or the rind. And then we'll go back and clean it up a little bit. trim off all of that excess green. You know how the kids are when they see that little bit of green there, they think something funny is going on. So just make a few more cleanup cuts. And sometimes there may be more green to cut away if a melon isn't as ripe. And then we're going to flip the cantaloupe so we can clean up that top part. There we go. And again, just being careful not to trim away too much of the flesh that's going to affect our yield. So, last time we had those index finger width slices. Now we're going to cut the slices a little larger. Just for demonstration purposes, this is maybe how we'd cut it at home. Pieces that are a little bit bigger. So we've cut into our planks, and then we're going to cut into our chunks. It's important to find a balance between cutting pieces that are small enough that they fit compactly into our serving cup, and cutting pieces that are too small so that they're going to start to get weepy. The smaller you cut the pieces, the more surface area is exposed and the more liquid is going to come out as it holds. So here we have our big pieces in our half cup serving. You can see that there's a lot of space between the pieces in the cup. And then when you try to put more pieces in, what happens is you're not going to be able to put your lid on if you do lid your fruit. So I would suggest that all cafeterias just cut theirs the same for consistency. And when you have these smaller pieces, see there's less room in between the pieces in the cup. And it won't take you this long to portion, but I'm just being very careful for the example here. So when we turn the cup to the side a little, you can see that it's not sticking up too much. So you are going to be able to lid that smaller piece. We just want to make sure that we get enough fruit in the cup and not smush the fruit when it goes into the cup. So again, let's see, we'll make a comparison. We have these larger pieces, and when you dump out that half cup, because there's space in between, you're actually not getting as much fruit as you would with the smaller pieces. This tidbit-sized piece will ensure that you're not going to have pieces so small that they're going to become watery and weepy if you decide to prep your fruit the day before. The pieces on the left are too big, the pieces in the middle too small. The pieces on the right, the tidbit size, are perfect for what you need.